Hello and welcome to another episode of Travel with Cigar and Bar. Tonight we are going to be sleeping in this snowbank. Yes, I heard that right. Friend of the channel, Stephanie Galbraith, and I are going to be sleeping inside of a Quinzee, which is a Canadian type of winter shelter. It's often confused with an igloo. An igloo is made of stacked blocks of ice, whereas a Quinzee is a shelter carved out of a compacted pile of snow. So we're going to get on around to the side where we're going to carve our entrance, and I'll show you what we're going to get done today. All right, so you can see that this is our entrance here. We've dug a nice channel in here, and then we've gone in here, and now that we've got an entrance, an opening carved, we're going to start to carve up inside of the dome that we're going to create inside the shell of the dome, so that as we're carving out the space, we've got the minimum amount of snow above us. This is going to be important because if we start carving straight in, we're undermining all that snow on top of us. We get a collapse. It could be deadly. But in this case, if we carve straight up, we've got no more than about 12 inches of snow above us at any given time. Then once we've got a nice sort of area at the top carved out, we can start carving down towards the ground. And those of you who are familiar with the channel will know that I do First World War Swiss reenacting, and this is my first opportunity to use the Swiss shovel, which was standard kit. And it is doing marvelously. It's got a nice sharp blade for carving out chunks of this nice packed snow. It's got a good size, a good length for getting around in small spaces, and also, rather importantly for winter, it's got a wooden handle, which means this isn't just conducting the heat away from my hands with gloves or without gloves. So presently I am very pleased with the performance of this shovel, and I'm going to keep carving out here, and we'll show you some progress once I've made some. All right, here we are inside the Quinzee. As you can see in here, it's I'm squatting, and if I sit up at the ceiling, and if I stretch my arms out, I can almost, that's a full extension on that side, I can almost extend my arms fully side to side. And if I reach from the camera here and all the way back here, I almost touch the door, so that's a full arms extension out to there. We've got the one sleeping pad over here and the other sleeping pad over here behind me. This is a slight mound of snow with a trough in the middle that allows for the cold air to settle and run out the door. Well, it's just a little bit up from the lowest point on the ground, so we'll sleep a little bit warmer in there. What else is going on in here? I've also got a little shelf carved at the back there, which I'll show you some pictures of, where I've got some drinks set up, some candles set up to just get a little bit of heat in here. A little bit of heat is going to be a good thing. It's pretty well insulated. It's not too bad. We're going to be very warm inside our sleeping bags. But a little extra heat inside of the Quinzee here is going to help to glaze the surface. It's going to melt the snow, and then it's going to freeze. And it's just to be a little bit harder on the inside, which will prevent any snow trickling down if it shifts, settles. So that's going to be slightly better for our purposes. So we're going to get that going, and it should be quite nice in here. Took us most of the day to get this far. We started at about 10:30 this morning, and we finished with the actual excavation of it just before sunset, at about 5 o'clock, and then we spent a little bit of time carving out the bar, carving out a couple of niches, and working on the bedding mounds. So it's a good solid day's work. It is 6:45 right now. So it's just a little bit early for dinner. We had a big lunch of bologna sandwiches. So we're going to hold off on dinner for just a little bit here. But considering we've got the Quinzee dugout, we've got the sleeping mats set up, and we got the camera all set up in here. That seems to be step one, create shelter. So in proper Camping with Steve fashion, gonna have a step two. Gonna have a lovely No Boats on Sunday cider, which is one of my favorite ciders. It's a dry hopped cider, and you can really taste just a little bit of hoppiness in the cider. It isn't too sweet a cider, and it also isn't really tart, so it's a good balance. I think I'd find it a little bit boring, a little bit safe as a cider if it wasn't for that hops. The hop flavor really adds something to this, and it makes it a stellar beverage. So, cheers. Oh, that's good. So I have to get the old stove rigged up here so we can have ourselves some dinner and catch you when we've got some food into us. Dinner time now, so I've got a nice jar of chili that I made up yesterday. This is a pork chili with kidney bean and chickpea, and in my opinion it is a wasted opportunity anytime a chickpea is not called a garbanzo bean. So we're gonna get that stove going here.
There you go. Excellent.
The chili has gotten chili. It's been sitting here for a while in the tent. Tent. Yes, because this is definitely
absolutely
a tent.
Yeah. 10 out of 10.
It's a low
Tent. Should we add a little bit of water?
We should add a little bit of water, yeah.
I was gonna offer you this, but this is not effective at all.
Not quite in the mood for makeshift beer chili, so let's add some water to it this time. There, so pre-made chili on low heat. Also concerned, this is the same gas canister that I brought with me for the cookhouse camping last weekend, which was a while back by the time both of these videos have been posted. And I was concerned that for a cold weather gas, it was not performing very well in the cold weather. I'm not worried about it in here because it's pretty warm. It's only -6 degrees outside, and it's well above that in here. We've got in the back here 5 wicks on a candle going, which is pretty nice. What I am concerned about now is that it does seem rather empty, rather low on gas, which is not good because this thing should be able to work for more than 3 meals. This will be the 4th meal it's gone through. So if it dies, that's the second strike that I've got against the people at the Primus winter gas isobutane canisters. And I'm going to have to go back to the other brand. I think it was Jetboil was the one I had before.
What was the first strike?
First strike was it didn't seem to want to work well in the cold.
Oh,
when it's a
okay,
winter
gotcha.
gas. So, don't know what to expect here, but we're going to get this warmed up, and then we're going to move on. After our nice cold step 2s, we're going to move on to a much warmer beverage. So, cheers. Just going to divvy up some of the food here. And it looks delightful. Would you hold your bowl, please?
Those candles didn't really last very long, did they?
Oh, the little tea light did not last long.
The big ones are doing great.
So now the second thing that we've got going on here is the camping favorite of mine, a winter camping favorite of mine. As I've mentioned in other videos, one of my favorite camping beverages is a whiskey tang. And this being a winter camping video, we're going to have a hot whiskey tang. Couple ounces of whiskey in there with the tang. Lovely tang. If it was good enough for the astronauts, it's good enough for me.
Want me to hold the cups?
And we got some hot water here. Not quite boiling, just doesn't need to be boiling. You're not making like tea or coffee. Watch your fingers. There we go.
Thank you.
And if it's too hot, you gotta A, wait longer before you can drink it, and B, you cook off the alcohol content way too fast. Which is not what anybody wants. So, it's probably too hot to drink right now. And if my lens fogs up too much right now, it's because there's a lot of steam in the Quinzee. A little chimney hole up here is letting in a little bit of light from the street lamps, but it's probably venting out a bunch of heat and hopefully any noxious toxic gases. We do have and this is something I would recommend highly for this kind of activity, a carbon monoxide detector in the Quinzee with us.
Fire heads. Yep.
And of course we have candles burning, which burning oxygen might not be the best idea if we're worried about asphyxiation, but it also does mean that the candles will go out hopefully before we do, because they require oxygen as well. So just a little something to, give you some a heads up on. So let's try some whiskey tang, and then we'll try the chilies. Cheers.
Right, cheers.
Oh, that's warm.
That's lovely.
It's nice.
Mm-hmm.
It's not hot. It's just warm enough.
No.
Oh,
Well done.
that's going to help quite a bit.
What do we put?
So, can I offer you some chili?
Sure. Thank you very much. Oh, I'm just happy with the hot.
Oh, that's hot bowl right
Yeah,
there.
it's lovely. Ah. Good stuff.
It's good.
Yeah, good.
The flavors have settled since we made it yesterday. So we're going to tuck into this for a little bit, and once we've got a little more room in here, the cooking stuff put away, I'm going to break out my step 3, which is on my channel, which is having a smoke, and hopefully we don't smoke ourselves out in here. So we'll see how that goes. So tonight I'm smoking my pipe here in the Quinzee, and I'm doing something that I've threatened to do for quite a while now, which is blend some of the Sutliff mulled wine with the Cornell and Deal Haunted Bookshop. I know that some people will consider that sacrilege because of the high regard in which they hold the Haunted Bookshop. Yeah, it's interesting. I've not blended this as a whole before putting it in. I layered it. Mulled wine, Haunted Bookshop, mulled wine, Haunted Bookshop. So it's kind of going through a couple of different layers. One flavor will ebb and flow. And I'm getting, at intervals, the way I described this mulled wine from Sutliff in an earlier video, in 2 Seasons, 2 Tobaccos, the link for which I'll put above, or almost above me. I'm usually able to actually point at the top of the screen. I can't really do it here, but up there in the roof, there will be a link, and you can see that video where I talk about it. And the major point that I'm going back to on that is that I thought that it didn't taste much like mulled wine, but what it did taste like was a wine gum, a Maynard's wine gum, kind of sweet with a little bit of sourness, and there was a flavor there that was wine gum-esque, which was interesting. I wonder if any of you out there in YouTube land have the same problems that I'm having now, where you light your pipe and you keep wanting to relight it because you're not sure it was actually lit, because you're not sure if it's smoke or if you're just seeing your breath, which is cold out. And I'm always checking, like, did I taste something? Am I thinking I'm tasting something? Is it lit? What's going on here? Well, it's not bad. It's nice. It does have a nice, creamy, smoky, slightly tart kind of flavor to it, which is interesting, and I like it. I may try adding some mulled wine to a couple of other blends just to see how they pair with it. But this is a good one. This is a good kind of holiday blend, and being in the snow, I know winter isn't necessarily Christmassy, but it kind of feels like it pairs. It kind of feels like it's a good pairing here.
It smells really, really nice. Yeah.
Good to have some room notes for a change, as I'm usually doing pipe smoking reviews by myself. Steph and I are going to continue enjoying our night here in the Quinzee. I'm going to keep smoking this pipe, and we're going to keep ourselves warm with some hot whiskey tang. And we're going to sit back and we're going to watch the Camping with Steve video, the link for which will be in the description below, where he builds a Quinzee himself. And he built his from scratch instead of working with a pile of snow that he stumbled on already made for him. And a Quinzee is a fun little bit of outdoor shelter, but it's not really an emergency shelter, because
Unless there's a snowbank.
Unless there's a snowbank already made. And if you need to start from scratch, it's kind of hard because it takes a day or two for the snow to really harden, as you'll see if you have any interest in watching the video. So I'm going to have a smoke, we're going to watch the video, and we'll catch up with you in the morning, and we'll see how our night went.
Seriously, check out Camping with Steve. He's pretty cool.
He's pretty awesome. Cheers. Well, it's been a hot minute since I've recorded that first part of the video. It's been almost a year since I've recorded that and haven't got around to finishing it. As you can hear in the majority of this video, I was having some audio problems. There was a lot of hiss, a lot of feedback. That microphone actually failed on me, and the remainder of the video that I shot that day, the next morning, complete audio fail, so nothing useful, unfortunately. But I will give you a recap. It got pretty damn cold in there, colder than either of us expected, which made it all the better that we had decent sleeping bags. So whether you think it's going to be warm, always prepare for more than you need, because particularly in really cold settings, it can be a life or death situation. Another thing that happened is those candles at our heads actually melted all the way down through the snow before finally extinguishing themselves in the bottom. But in the middle of the night, I looked over and I could still see them glowing through the snow. But they'd managed to put enough heat out into the room, that into the Quinzee there, that it wasn't so bad. All in all, it was a pleasant experience. I would do it again, as long as I can find myself a nice big snowbank like that to burrow myself into. I'm not sure I would take the time to go and pack down an actual mound by hand and then hollow it out, but that was an enjoyable experience. Unfortunately, right now in Canada, it is a rainy, wet January with temperatures barely dropping below zero, so we are a long way from being able to do that for current temperature standards out there. As I mentioned in the video, if you're going to be doing this kind of work on a Quinzee, you really want it to be really solid. So a couple of days of well below zero on your mound of snow, so that you can make sure it's firmed up enough that you don't run the risk of it collapsing. Of course, there is always a risk of collapse, but it mitigates it significantly if you have stronger packed snow. So that was camping on a Quinzee. I'm looking forward to doing more camping, in particular winter camping videos, coming up in the next few months. I've got a kind of redo of the Swiss winter camping video that I shot last winter coming up next month. We're going to be shooting that. We're back in the same spot with the same tent, but new wood stove, maybe a couple of new faces, some familiar faces coming back. So if you like the winter camping video, stay tuned for that one. And if you like outdoor winter activities, so as soon as we get some more snow, I'll try to do them if I hear from you that that's something that you want to see. One thing I've been toying with is that I have never once in my life been skiing. And so as far as a winter activity is concerned, that's one of the big ones. And I would be game if people were interested in seeing a video. We can see how my first attempts at that go. So I'm going to leave you here, and I'm going to hope that you've got something good in your pipe and a strong drink in your hand. And cheers to surviving the night in a mountain of snow. I will see you next time on Travel with Cigar and Bar. I am James, and hope everyone out there in YouTube land is having a great day. Cheers.